And a good Thursday morning, football fans, specifically you Birds fans out there. You're listening and watching Birds 365. That would be hosted by John McMullen and Jordy McDonald, your Mac and Mac guys. It's a game day, Johnny Mac. An actual game day. Come on, It's as huge. It's as big.
Game day. Yes. Very exciting. Game day. Bob Groats coming up at 9:20. I'm dubbing Bob Groats Game Day Bob Groats for today.
Okay. Is he game day guy? I didn't know that. I thought he was just the Prince of Darkness.
No, but because he's on today, he's a game day guy.
If he's a game day guy, then he's a game day guy. And yes, I'm implanting my tongue somewhat in cheek because as we've continued to say here on Birds 365, the coaches put more emphasis on joint practices this week. They had 2 against the Cleveland Browns, 1 not great, 1 outstanding. Next week they'll have 1 against the Indianapolis Colts, and I do want to get the point on that in just a second. But I'm sorry, maybe I'm old school, but I'm giving you my honest opinion here. Tonight's game is more important than the practices when it comes to judging players who do or don't make the roster. Yes, they're going to protect their players. There's going to be a whole bunch of guys. I'll ask you what the number is going to be, your deference list as to how many guys will actually sit out. So if you're judging the overall team, it's not going to be a true judgment because a bunch of their best players aren't even going to play. But if we're talking about battles for roster spots, I'll tell you that tonight's game is more important than either of the joint practices they had. I get why the joint practices are important because you can work on specific things. If you need goal line prep, if you need goal line stops, you can do that. You're not got to go length of the field. Yes, you can dictate certain situations which give you a better chance to ferret information out of it. But in actual game day situation, I'm sorry, it's more important when you're playing against a member of the other team and there are no restrictions as to how hard you can hit. The quarterbacks, you get close to them, you scream sack. That's not a sack because you scream it. You must actually take the guy to the ground. And tonight they'll actually have to take a quarterback to the ground if they want a sack. I'm sorry it's a game. It's better than a practice if you're just purely talking about judging who should or shouldn't be on your football team.
Well, I think live reps will agree that are certainly more better to evaluate the non-live reps. So I'll agree with you there, but it kind of like everything else. It's like, well, what are you talking about? The back 5 guys on the roster that they don't know. And how many are there? It's probably not even 5 that they don't know at this point. 2 or 3, that's sort of the old Marv Levy way of handling preseason. Yeah, it's more important for those guys. They didn't even get reps in the joint practices, those guys. So yeah, it's more important for them. But as far as the key players on the team, no, it's not more important for them. I mean, they're not going to play. They're going to be put in bubble wrap. They got all their reps.
We're not going to judge the starters, the best players, the top 15 players on it because we're not even going to play them. Okay, so but they're not judging them on practice either because they've already predetermined that they're going to be starters.
Not only the starters, and that's why I say key players. Now, some guys have to play because you have to play. You have to play a game. You have to go through the 60 minutes. You don't have enough to rotate unless you want to play the Ian Books of the world for the entire game, which who knows? Tanner McKee's going to get plenty. But if they didn't have a young quarterback, who knows? I mean, are they going to play even Marcus Mariota in this game? I mean, Cleveland's not playing their backup quarterback. That's where we are at this stage. So with everything in the world, it comes down to definitions. But as far as live reps being better than non-live reps, yeah, of course. But then it becomes the cost-benefit analysis of I don't want to get anybody hurt, and that includes key backups. As far as it's obvious with the Jalen Hurtses of the world and the Jason Kelsey's, Lane Johnson, et cetera. But even you don't even want key backups near this game. As I point to Cleveland, they don't even want their backup quarterback involved. Never mind their starting quarterback.
Do you know
And
for a
it's
fact
sad for
Joshua
the
Dobbs
fans.
isn't going to play tonight?
It's reported by the Cleveland reporters. I
Okay.
mean, that Dorian Thompson Robinson's going to start. Now they could go the Baltimore route and bring him in to win the game, but I don't think they're going to do that. So to me, if they're starting DTR, they're not going to play Josh Dobbs. Can I tell you 100%? No, but I would be shocked. And that's not even, I don't even consider that a top tier backup quarterback, to be honest, Jody. They probably should play him to get him more reps. But that's where we are in the NFL. And it's not a good thing, by the way. I agree with you there.
I don't think it's a good thing. And if from a fan perspective, and oh, by the way, when John McMullen goes over tonight, he won't be paying. Jody McDonald not going over tonight, so I won't be paying. But if you're planning on going to the game, yeah, guess what? You're paying. And whatever concessions you get, beers,
parking,
that's very drinks, expensive, hot dogs.
I feel going to be people.
Regular season prices for something that's not close to a regular season game. And this is not an overburying of the Cleveland of the Philadelphia Eagles playing the Cleveland Browns, because there are going to be 15 other teams in the National Football League going to do the same thing this weekend. So everybody does it. They take advantage of you, the fans, in every single city with these less than stellar preseason games, which I think is a rip off. Yes, I said it. But let me get more specific with a bunch of different positions, but there's one that kind of stands above all others, at least for me. That would be linebacker Johnny Mack. Nakobe Dean has done very little during this offseason. Now, you know how big a Nakobe Dean fan I was. The day after the draft, I came here and just wowed about the fact that the Eagles got him in the third round. Couldn't believe their luck that he sat there to the third round. I thought the kid was a borderline first-round pick between the first and the second. I would have loved to see the Eagles take him in the second. They got him in the third. Outstanding job done by Howie Roseman et al. In playing the board exactly right and getting a potential star player. Well, he hasn't shown that star-level player on the National Football League level just yet. Minimal playing time at best last year. Came in with the dot on his helmet, knowing he's going to be the starter at middle linebacker. He's A, been hurt, and B, been less than stellar in the practices so far. We're getting closer to that opening Sunday in New England against the Patriots. Don't we need to see a little bit more of Nakobe Dean? Do we believe that he's going to be just fine because Jody McDonald says so, his biggest fan here in the Delaware Valley, or does he actually have to do it on the field? And wouldn't it be nice if he did it for a couple of plays against the team in another uniform tonight?
Yeah, I'm with you. He might be the most interesting player tonight if you're going to play him, because he didn't play last week either. And that might have been related to deference, or it might have been related to the ankle injury. He had just returned to practice after missing 4 days of team drills, and maybe they were being extra cautious. I'm with you. I want to see him out there. What the Eagles do, if I had to predict, I think they're going to defer to him. I think they're spooked. Imagine, forget about a serious injury. Imagine if he goes down for a couple weeks, and then you're really scrambling with Nick Morrow and probably be Zach Cunningham as your starting linebackers for week one. And I'm kind of, Dan Orlovsky got in my head. I read that tweet about New England zigging when everybody's zagging, trying to play a different way. And if that's the case, and I don't know, because obviously I'm not following the Patriots every day and what they're doing. But if that's the case, and Dan's right, and they're going to show up and trying to run the football in week one, I mean, that could be a situation where we're talking about, are the Eagles going to go 5-0 to start the season? I keep saying they're going to go 4-1. Well, there's your one loss right there if they can't stop New England in week one, plus all the other stuff with the Tom Brady day and opening day, and everybody's hyped up, and that's always a bad situation if you're the road team. or at least a worse situation in week 1. So yeah, I mean, I think they're going to defer to him, but I hope he plays. I hope he plays. I will say that because yeah, I think he needs reps, and they need to figure out who the best player is next to him as well. And how do you figure that out? You know,
if they're never on the field together,
yeah,
it just doesn't make sense.
You know, and they'll say, "Well, joint practices. That's what we're doing with the joint practices." That's what they'll say. But this is not Jason Kelsey. This is not Lane Johnson. And despite Jody McDonald's optimism, and by the way, I think the Eagles' optimism as well, there's nothing proven here. Right. Nothing. So, but I went through this during Jalen Hurts' first year as a starter. And they kind of, and that's a more important position, obviously, but there's at least some, you know, quarterback of the offense, quarterback of the defense. Obviously, one's more important. But they were like, don't worry about it. We know Jalen's the guy. We're going to get him to week 1 healthy. And they were right. Maybe they're right here. But it's tough to kick all the old school out of me. I'd like to see the kid play in a real live environment.
Couple things. Number one, Jalen compared to Nakobe. Jalen started 3 games the year before, okay? Nakobe's played 32 snaps. So knowing where Jalen was at as compared to knowing where Nakobe is at, yeah, you better well know Jalen better. You actually put him out there as a starter.
But they were remember though, Jody, different coaching staff, and it was not good those 3 games. It was not good. He did not perform well. And you had an entirely new coaching staff as well. Now, part of the reason he didn't perform well is the offense wasn't built for him. They just threw him in there.
Right.
And all that kind of stuff. You're right. He played a little bit, but he was completely unproven as a starter in this league. And they were like,
more proven than Nakobe Dean is.
Well, slightly, but not much.
2 starts over 3 starts over 32 snaps. Yeah, that's a lot to me. Number 2 about the Patriots. Good idea, good philosophy. I'll reference back to Mike Tyson. Everybody's fine till they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
If the Eagles are up 14-0, guess what? It's not going to be Ramondre Stevens left, Ramondre Stevens center, Ezekiel Elliott right. They're not going to be running the football down the Eagles' throats if they're down 14-0 early second quarter. So great philosophy, but then the game has to play itself out. We'll see if it does to that effect that the Patriots are ready to do that. I'm sorry. I want to see Nakobe Dean tonight. Nothing's going to change my mind other than the fact that I have no control of it. And I'll watch and I'll find out that starting at linebacker for the Eagles is Christian Ellis and Zach Campbell, which will annoy the snot out of me. I can guarantee you that.
No, it'll be Christian Ellis and Nick Morrow. That'll be your starters if Nakobe doesn't start.
And we got a bunch of other positions we got to sink our teeth into too. We will do that between myself, John McMullen, and for hour number 1, our first guest, who is John Stolnis from Bleeding Green Nation and the Eye on the Enemy podcast. He's already checked on in the green room, ready to rock with us. John Stolnis next here on Birds 365.